Hey, how's it going? I feel like we were just chatting with each other. I'm putting this video together after having just spoken with all of you last night about literacy. And so let me give you the background of this article that I'm asking you to read. I'm providing you this article for two main reasons. Number one, I'm giving you this article because it connects directly to the conversation from last night's class. You'll remember that in last night's class, we started by creating this relatively ambiguous definition of literacy. On the board, we had developed the language, the ability to read and write. And then, of course, we engaged in a few activities throughout the class, and by the end of the class, we had a far more profound, a far more detailed definition of literacy. We examined all of those emails, you worked in groups, and so we were starting to move towards thinking about literacy in a more complex way. And so this article actually provides some concrete language for talking about critical literacy. And that's going to be important because we're going to use a lot of the ideas in this article for our first unit especially. When I said that you guys could choose a magazine and write about it, you'll be using some of the ideas from this article in your examination of that magazine. So that's the first reason. The second reason I'm asking you to take a look at this article is because I want us to start working through some pretty complicated texts in the course. You'll remember that we talked about what you had done in your previous classes, and you had listed all of those books and stories that you'd read, everything from Hamlet to The Great Gatsby to Crucible to Fahrenheit 451. And so we had talked about how in this course, yes, we will read one novel, but we're also going to spend the majority of the time looking at this non-fiction expository prose. And so here's an example of that. And so as you read, I want you to think about how some of the ideas in the text connect to last night's conversation. And this is not the easiest reading, but know that this piece of writing here is actually written for teachers, for instructors, and so you're not the primary audience. Of course, it doesn't mean you can't take anything from it. I've annotated the text a little bit. You can see my red comments that run throughout, and I've also provided circles over ideas that I think are central to the text and that I'd like to address with you when we meet again next class. So have a look. I'm asking you to read from pages 52 to 56. And if there are ideas that are a little confusing, that's fine, jot them down. If there's vocabulary that you don't understand, perhaps look it up, perhaps bring those words to class and we can work on them there. Conceptually, I think one way of working with the article is to constantly go back to the email work that we did last class, or you may want to think of a commercial that you have in mind. Or you may even want to begin thinking about a magazine that you'd like to look at, because I think you can connect some of the ideas in this reading to specific examples, and it may help you better understand and appreciate the point that the author is making. There's also this cheat sheet that's embedded in here, this gray rectangle that has a ton of questions. This, I think, is a great place to start. Right? Read these questions, think about what they're getting at, and then maybe get into the article. If you have any questions as you're working through it, you can always send me an email. And of course, next class we'll talk about it in detail. Take care.